It's Seeing Red, the New York Soccer Roundup. Since 2010, your weekly source for independent New York Red Bulls news and opinion. Now, from the Joe Goldstein studio, here's your host, Mark Fishkin.
Seeing Red with Mark Fishkin here with Gustavo Guimarâes. How are you, Gustavo?
Mark, I've been pretty good.
Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. I know allergies are giving everyone a massive, massive challenge. Inter Miami gave New York a massive, massive challenge. We'll talk about that. Before we get into it, please, the liking, the subscribing on this week's show. New York makes up for a dreadful performance at Miami by pasting Colorado Springs in the Open Cup by the same 4-1 score. The Red Bulls now get ready for an MLS rematch against a Galaxy team that is absolutely last on the MLS table. Tonight on Seeing Red, we'll look back at the youthful Red Bulls lineup, the youthful Red Bulls attack anyway, that moved the team to the U.S. Open Cup round of 16. We'll give our ball of the match. What with MLS swamping the USL in the Open Cup, what does it mean kind of overall for American soccer? We'll look at the last 16, a preview of LA Galaxy's first visit to Red Bull Arena since 2019. Crazy. Our interview is with old friend Steve Cangialosi of MLS Season Pass, and then we have your emails. Let's get right into it. I really don't want to spend a minute talking about what happened against Miami. Their worst loss of the season, the first time the team has conceded more than twice in the season. They had an XG of less than 1. They got absolutely pasted. But Tuesday night in a rainy Colorado Springs, a very youthful attack that included Mohamed Sofo and Victor Bogash and Dennis Yengor and Wiki Carmona scored somewhat early and often. They rode a 2-0 halftime lead into a 4-1 victory that moves the team into the U.S. Open Cup round of 16. Gustavo, I don't know if you were able to watch the match. If so, what did you think? If not, what did you think?
I think it was a good opportunity for Sandro to play the roster. Nothing more than that. I did expect the Red Bulls to pass Colorado, and they did their job. It was good to see the young kids, the youngsters playing, and they did pretty well.
Yeah, Mohamed Sofo continues to impress. He has 2 goals in the league. He has 2 goals in the Open Cup, which puts him even with Choupo-Moting as the leading scorer on the team in all competitions so far this year. His finishes were quality. I think Bogac is still obviously figuring it out. Dennis Yengor got on the board in the second half. Sean Nealis, the Massapequa Messi, scored late for the capper. I thought that Colorado Springs really figured out what they wanted to do, and that was play long ball. And AJ Marcucci in net was, I thought, very alert to jump off his line multiple times during the match to ensure that there weren't going to be any dangerous moments. Would have liked to have had the clean sheet. Didn't happen for New York, but at the end of the day, it really is a bit of a walk. Tim Parker, penalty shout late in the first half, no VAR in the Open Cup at this stage. And huge kudos. Coach Schwartz gave kudos, but we'll echo them here for the supporters that flew out to Colorado Springs on a Tuesday night to support this team. I'll tell you, the coach and the players were absolutely blown away by that show of support. And so New York passes the first hurdle. They're 4 wins from a trophy, which will come next. Their next challenge will be in a couple of weeks at home against FC Dallas, who took care of AV Alta of USL League One by a 3-1 score. Do you have a bull of the match, sir?
Absolutely. He got to beat Mohamed Sofo.
Yeah. No, I agree.
It has
100%.
to be Sofo. There's no way we could give to a different player, even though a lot of them deserved. But Sofo, and let's not forget, he's been injured. He was injured for a couple of weeks. Otherwise, he would probably have more goals than what he has now.
Yep. Definitely playing with a ton of confidence. Let's get into the Open Cup for a minute and talk about what's left. Here is the remaining bracket. And when I say bracket, the matchups beyond this round of 16 have yet to be determined, and they will be determined, if not today, then soon by U.S. Soccer. The Red Bulls are clearly, however, on the eastern side of the bracket. So what strikes me, again, MLS teams go 15-1 in the first round that they are participating in, which for me kind of takes it away. The Pittsburgh Riverhounds, who have Philly, are the only team from a lower division that are still participating in the Open Cup. It doesn't mean any less for the teams that are playing, but it just, you're not going to get those big storylines that perhaps will break through with the rest of U.S. soccer culture. Revs and Chicago should be a decent matchup. Philly and Pittsburgh, we talked about, that'll be at Philly. DC and Charlotte, Orlando and Nashville on the eastern half. You've got Minnesota and St. Louis, Austin and Houston in a Texas derby, the Quakes and the Timbers, and then the Red Bulls in Dallas. And it just, I mean, it's just a whole lot less fun unless you've got, El Farolito playing for their taco shop in San Francisco, or you've got even upstart Westchester SC that made a little bit of a run. No amateur teams obviously left. This is now going to be an exercise for Schwartz, who is now, he will have 9 full matches in the month of May. It's going to be an exercise in how to balance the minutes and how to ensure that the team works their players back to full health. Because again, Lewis Morgan's working back, Cam Harper's working back. Important players are not on the field right now.
And we need those guys. Absolutely. Especially Harper and Lewis Morgan, 2 main characters in this roster. I'm excited to see what they're going to do against FC Dallas, because I really want the Red Bulls to play against an old friend, which is Bruce Arena and San Jose Quakes. I think it would be a lovely matchup to see what he's been doing there. He's trying to build the team from bottom to the top, and I'm excited for this matchup if it happens, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, if we get there, and again, we'll get the full draw coming out in the next few days. Here's what May looks like for the Red Bulls: home for LA, at Nashville, at City. The Nashville game's on a Wednesday, at City, and then midweek at home for FC Dallas, at DC, home for Charlotte and Atlanta. And that's the month. I mean, it is literally with they'll be playing every 3 or 4 days for the next couple of weeks, and it's going to be a massive challenge. And that challenge starts with the LA Galaxy coming into Harrison on Saturday. Let's take a look. After winning MLS Cup, the Galaxy are winless. Winless. You know how hard it is to be winless after 11 matches in this league? This league is built for parity. Anyone can beat anyone. 0-8-3 for 3 points. They are in the wooden spoon. They've literally started an MLS Cup in their pocket, and they've gone all the way to the bottom. They have the second worst attack in MLS. They've conceded 21 times in 11 games, the third worst defense. They've conceded the 4th most in XG conceded. They chronically suffer late, giving up 8 goals in the last 15 minutes of the game, and 5 of those goals have changed the game state. And they're, of course, winless away from the Your Name Here Center in Carson. Their last 5 in MLS, some of these games are close. A 2-0 loss at RSL, a home draw against Houston, a 1-goal loss at Austin. They got pasted by Portland. That's fine. And then last time out, they went to Sporting KC. They give up an own goal. Sporting KC does not get a shot on goal in the entire match. And that's the first time that's ever happened in MLS history in 29.5 seasons that a team has lost, a team has won without getting a shot on goal. Absolutely horrific for LA and Greg Vanney. Obviously, there are reasons. Let's take a look at the changes since the team walked off the field with the MLS Cup trophy, playing not like us in Carson. which was not appreciated. Nevertheless, Martinkowski goes. Players in: Masinkowski, Jornsson, a 35-year-old defender. They brought in Sean Davis, and then they let go of Sean Davis. Very, very strange. Elijah Winder signs from Louisville City, a 22-year-old center mid. Sanabria is a 21-year-old 6 from Uruguay. They brought in Christian Ramirez to provide some cover and help up top for Dejan Joveljic, who moved on to Sporting KC for $4.5 million. They brought in Nascimento on loan from Botafogo, a 21-year-old striker. On the departing side, obviously Joveljic, who was so impactful, scored an MLS Cup, and Brugman, who also was the 6 in MLS Cup that really held it down in the early going for LA. They lost Marky Delgado, who went across town and joined LAFC for $500,000. They lost, they lost young Jalen Neal, who joined Montreal for $700,000. So the most important piece, of course, that's missing is Ricky Puig, right? It's just a few short months ago, the LA Galaxy were on top of the world, beating the undisputed best team in MLS, having defeated the Red Bulls 2-1 in MLS Cup. They're last in the Shield standings, which is the worst start by an MLS Cup champion ever, but also the worst start in LA Galaxy history. What went wrong? So their whole squad, after several pieces of the cup-winning team now departed, they sent Joveljic to SKC with the new cash. 2/3 of the midfield that started MLS Cup against the Red Bulls have also departed, with Delgado joining LAFC and Brugman joining Nashville. The players have not been properly replaced. The Galaxy signed 2 strikers at different ends of the spectrum to each other, but neither of them are able to produce like Joveljic. Midfielder Lucas Sanabria's time at the Galaxy has been underwhelming and riddled with injuries. And no Puig, no party. Key departures are not the sole reason for the sudden demise of the LA Galaxy, but the most apparent is the injury to midfielder Ricky Puig, by far the Galaxy's best player, an argument for MLS MVP last year. Without him, the Galaxy just looked completely lost. And underperforming Joseph Paintsil and Gabriel Peck, who are still playing for this team. Both are recovering from injury. Peck has 2 goals in 14 games, a massive disappointment. And Marco Reus, who complained about the players leaving the team in the offseason, has been a shadow of his former self, but he's 35 years old. So what can you do there? It's the 54th all-time meeting between these 2 old-school 96 rivals. The one-time 1% derby, that's not the case anymore with these 2 teams. The Galaxy leads all time by a hair. The Red Bulls have a healthy advantage at home. The teams, New York is winless in its last 2 against the Galaxy. The last time these teams played, of course, were MLS Cup. The last time these teams played at home, the Red Bulls won 3-2. That's way back in May of 2019, in the before times. That's crazy. Juan Pablo Angel is the all-time leading scorer against LA, and the active scorer is Sean Nealis with his goal in MLS Cup. Here is what Greg Vanney's 4-3-3 could look like, although consider that both Paintsil and Peck left the match at Sporting Kansas City with injuries. That would make a very, very challenging situation for Greg Vanney even more challenging, having to deal without those players. And so who we're looking at: John McCarthy, the former hero of the LAFC MLS Cup champion, and the penalty kick, is now with the Galaxy. He's 32. He has 1 clean sheet on the season. He's conceded 19 times. A back line of John Nelson, a 26-year-old American; Maya Yoshida, 36, from Japan, played in MLS Cup; and Mauro Garces, a 23-year-old Colombian, with 2 goals and an assist from the center back spot. That tells me their few goals have come on set pieces. Miki Yamane, another Japanese player, and the right back. The 3-man midfield is Diego Fagundes, who is now 30. Oh my God, that's insane. I'm very old. Edwin Cirillo, a 24-year-old American, and Marco Reus, again 35. He has 1 goal in the season. Up top could be Christian Paintsil, Christian Ramirez, former Minnesota and Gabriel Peck. And so, my friend, this is one of those situations. Again, the team played a very poor Toronto side when they were at the bottom of the East. They played a very poor Montreal side when they were on the bottom of the East and won. And now we have the worst team in MLS coming all the way across the country. They didn't have to play midweek in Open Cup because they played in Champions League. What do you see happening on Saturday night at Red Bull Arena?
Even though I expect the Red Bulls to beat Galaxy, am I confident? No, I'm not. Especially given the last performances at home, given the situation that took place in Miami, the issues we have within the roster, the place we are in the standings. Overall, it's been disappointing. I am not confident, and I'm usually upbeat for these home matches. As you know, I
Yeah.
try to see things on a positive way, but it's been so bad lately, and it shows. It shows on the field. I don't think the fans are happy. I don't think the fans are excited for this match, even though they should. I would gladly trade that 4-0 win over LA Galaxy at the old Giants Stadium, if you recall that for the last MLS Cup. But I'm not excited. It's surprisingly, it surprises me, but I'm not excited.
Yeah, I mean, this team hasn't done enough to excite their fans. They've lost 2 of their last 3. They've scored 3 goals in 4 games. The biggest challenge, I mean, the Miami shellacking notwithstanding, I think the challenge is how is this team going to score goals? It's just been too difficult for them. And yes, you can make the argument that a mid-table USL team succumbed quite easily, but the difference in quality, I think we've seen very clearly this week between the USL and MLS for all the Sturm and Drang is it's just not
not up there.
It's not there. So, LA's given up 20 goals in 11 games. The team have to fly all the way across the country. This should be a Red Bulls win. And with the second of 9 matches or the third of 9 matches in March coming on Saturday, this has to be a win. Last time out at home, a very before the win in Montreal, I think fans still have the loss to DC in the taste in their mouth, and they don't necessarily see a kind of an uninspiring 1-0 win against Montreal as providing any confidence. The summer transfer window can't get here soon enough. So
absolutely, I'm looking forward to it. We need to energize, especially the attack. Even though we lost Harper and Morgan, we need pieces there. I think I'm pleased with what Choupo-Moting has been displaying. I don't think he's a concern, and it surprises me too that he's been healthy the whole season so far, and I wish him the best. But I think he needs help.
Yeah, well, and we've talked about it ad nauseum about what another attacking threat on this team can do. You have a prediction for Saturday night before we go to break?
I don't want to call a draw, but let's say a 1-0 win, New York.
I'm going to call it a 3-1 win. I think they break out. I think it's going to be smiles all around, and the Red Bulls are going to take that energy into a midweek game at Nashville. All right. When we're back on Seeing Red, we're talking to Steve Cangialosi of MLS Season Pass. So keep it here, please. Thank you so much. Back on Seeing Red from the Joe Goldstein studio. Mark Fishkin here. Today's guest should be very familiar to New York Red Bull fans. He covered the team as a play-by-play man for 2 decades and now rocking it on MLS Season Pass. That's Steve Cangialosi. Welcome back to Seeing Red, sir. How are you?
Always good to be back with you, Mark. How are things as we enter match day 12 of this marvelous season?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's they sure are playing soccer. There was some consternation after Coach Schwartz basically said, we're only 2 points off of last year's pace, but I don't there was a fan that actually shared with me on social media that he believes the team is just content to squeak into the playoffs every year and hope to get on a run. They certainly are having trouble scoring goals in the league. What's your view of this year's team and challenge?
Well, right now it's a middle of the road team. And I think that's where you land when you talk about 2025 New York Red Bulls to this point. I would push back to that fan who says there's a content just to make the playoffs and then see what happens. To me, reality has set in this Eastern Conference. The bar is as high as it's ever been, I believe, anyway, because I think we have four excellent teams in the conference when you talk about Inter Miami, the two teams in Ohio, and I'll throw Charlotte in there as well, even though there's been this discontent with Wilfred Zaha. So I don't think the Red Bulls have any business taking that approach, and I think if you get an honest answer from people like Emil Forsberg, they recognize that. Look, do I think the best is still in front of them this season? Yes, because I think their most prolific player from 1 year ago is probably 2 weeks from a return. And if they get some semblance of Lewis Morgan that they got last year, I think they'll be in a better place. But I do think the upcoming summer transfer window is maybe more significant than I thought it would be just a few months ago.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked on the show for as long as Lewis has been out, just about how that extra attacking dimension frees up other attackers and just creates a real challenge for defenses. We had been told by Schwartz that May was the time that he was most likely going to be returning. We'll speak to him tomorrow about where Morgan is. Looking at their wins, Nashville before they got going, a very poor Toronto side, a poor Montreal side, a win against a Chicago team that is still, I think, figuring it out. Not blowing anyone's hair back, I think, is the story of the first third of this season. And I talked to Schwartz about the Open Cup win on the road on a rainy Tuesday in Colorado Springs. If you can do it there, I guess you can do it anywhere. But he's always only looking at it match by match. This LA team coming into Sports Illustrated Stadium is completely unrecognizable from the team that took a 2-0 lead on the Red Bulls in MLS Cup and held on to lift the trophy once again. What other than hello Ricky Puig, will please come back, and Joveljic, is it that simple for these guys? Because a lot of the players are still the same. A number of them are.
Well, I'm going to get a chance to speak to Craig Vanny on Friday. Okay, we're taping this on a Wednesday. Why is that significant? Because Joseph Painsil and Gabriel Peck, the other two designated players outside of Ricky Puig, left their most recent game with injury. So there's a chance, this could change by Saturday, that they could line up without all three of their designated players on Saturday night.
Wow.
I don't think you can just brush past Ricky Puig so easily when you try to put this into context. Mark, quite simply, no player in the league touched the ball more last season than Ricky Puig. He had, according to Football Reference, he had better than 3,100 touches last year. The next guy on the list was 300 fewer than Ricky Puig. So it all goes through him. There's a lot going on here in terms of not just the loss of Ricky Puig, but you lost Joveljic, who obviously had the first goal in MLS Cup. You lost Gaston Brugman. All he was the MVP of MLS Cup. And you lost Mark Delgado as well. So, yes, they do come back with 10 of the 11 starters from MLS Cup, but I think that's a little too simplistic. Still, with all of that said, this is the team that's winless in the West. They have the worst goal differential in MLS going into this. And I don't think that anyone could have predicted where they are 11 games into the season. It's kind of gone off the rails. And I do think we would have a little more of a heated discussion about the future of Greg Vanny if it wasn't for one thing. He's coming off a championship.
Right.
Rarefied air, Mark. There are only 3 other coaches in the history of the league to win MLS Cup with 2 different teams. And the names are pretty prominent. It's Bruce Arena, it's Caleb Porter, and the late Siggy Schmid. So with that, he gets a little latitude in situations like this. But if this goes on for another few weeks, then I think all bets are off. They have LAFC coming up right around the corner as well.
It's mind-boggling that the team is winless.
Yeah.
It's really hard to go winless in MLS. There's so much parity in the league. And yes, there are certainly some strong teams. I think the Western Conference is certainly weaker than the East this year. Just absolutely baffling. They were involved in one of the wackiest MLS games last week when they lost on an own goal. Sporting Kansas City did not, I think, get a shot on goal in that game and won 1-0. And that's the first time that's happened in 30 seasons.
You know what? I thought that if Peck and Paintsel come out of that injury situation last week, okay, because I was left with the impression, yes, there is the statistical oddity of losing a game without surrendering a shot. But I actually think in recent weeks, the Galaxy haven't performed that poorly. It's just that the results haven't been there, and they outshot Kansas City in that game 11-0. It was everything except that last touch. How many times have we said that in the New York universe, of course, over the last 30 years? A lot. I think the dynamic of this game is interesting. It's a chance to avenge what happened back in December, but I thought the last game against Inter Miami was a chance to avenge the Messi 5-assist game. And I don't even think Inter Miami played very well in that game. It's just that they had certain players who can do extraordinary things in isolated moments, and suddenly you look up and it is 4-1. But to take this back to Saturday night, I'm hoping Noah Ayla shows well. Because I remember at MLS Cup, and you and I were both in the stadium that day.
We were.
I'll be honest. I still haven't watched the game on television all of this time. I never rolled the tape back because I just watched it live in the stadium. And I remember, Mark, tell me if this happened to you. The game was about 3 minutes old when I'm sitting up in the press box, and I finally realized Noah Ayla's on the field and not Andres Reyes. I didn't get it right away. It took a couple of possessions for each team for me to realize, whoa, what is going on? And so the young man is put in a very difficult position, and suddenly you look up and 13 minutes into the game, this team is down by 2 goals. And it takes Sandro, obviously, a little bit of time to make the proper adjustment, put Sean Nealis in the middle, and the game took a better turn. But he had to live with that, and I'm sure it was a long trip back home. And I think that every player has a bit of a clock inside him. Noah Ayla's internal clock probably wasn't expected to go off until maybe the 70th or 80th minute if the Red Bulls were in position to protect the lead. So coming back for this match, I hope he performs well.
Yeah, I think in what we've seen from Ayla this season has been a wonderful maturation, not only in his own confidence and ability to go forward, but he remains one of the best young defenders in the league. And so, yeah, I mean, that is a wrinkle in this club's history that will be across to bear, not unlike letting 4'3" Latif Blessing score in the Open Cup final, or any of the bizarro things that happen to this club in knockout tournaments. So New York gets a win in the Open Cup. I do want to talk a little bit about it. MLS goes 15-1 against USL sides over the last 2 days. It takes, I think, some of the magic and spice out of the tournament that the USL sides weren't able to go and get some scalps and be able to kind of push whatever competing league narrative we have. The Red Bulls are one of them. It's a strange situation, as once again, going back to 2008, they'll be playing on the western side of the bracket, it appears. I'm just kind of curious as to your thoughts on what you saw over the last 2 days from the Open Cup.
Yeah, suddenly the Pittsburgh Riverhounds take great significance in this tournament, do they not, after being the one lower division team, knocking off New York City along the way. As it relates to the Red Bulls, look, this is a chance for a trophy. And Sandro Schwartz spoke very openly about this. This is a unique tournament where you're 5 results away from putting something in a trophy case. It's 1 down, it's 4 to go. what I think is the interesting thing to come out of that first win at Colorado Springs, what are we looking at here with Mohamed Sofo, who's opened up eyes with the second team, obviously, but we're talking about now a first-team contribution where he's scored in 3 of the 4 starts that he's been given with the first team in all competitions. We knew a couple of things about him coming in. He does have pace. It's probably a toss-up, he or Yengor, who's the fastest guy on the team, and he does press well. And the finishes, 3 of them over the last 2 games in all comps, the 2 in the U.S. Open Cup were very clean, simple finishes. We don't take that for granted in these parts. And the one in Miami, of course, was a scoring change originally given to Choupo-Moting. So what good has come out of the first 2 months of 2025 for this team? Well, the emergence of this young man, and that's still a fact-finding mission, and Omar Valencia showing us you probably can't take him off the field right now because it's 4 assists for him, which happens to be first on the team. I still love the U.S. Open Cup for many reasons. The fact that it's 15 out of 16 that play in MLS won't darken that for me. But you're right. If you're into that first round NCAA tournament kind of magic, you probably can't look forward to that for the remainder of this tournament.
Awesome. Well, listen, it's great to always talk. Thank you so much for dropping by. And I know we'll talk to you soon. Steve Cangialosi will be on the call for the Red Bulls and the LA Galaxy this Saturday night. Thanks for stopping by, Steve.
Thanks, Mark. Always a pleasure to be with you.
All right. We've got more Seeing Red coming up after this short break. Keep it here. Back on Seeing Red, the New York Soccer Roundup. Red Bulls advance in the Open Cup. They're getting ready to take on LA Galaxy in an MLS Cup rematch. Do you think this is like a revenge situation for the Red Bulls? Do you think they're like, we've got to deliver payback here?
Absolutely. It has to be a payback. We should play with proud, honor the crest.
This team again was a Forsberg shot off the post and a Elias Manuel trucking in the box in injury time away from perhaps taking that game to extra time. You can write us anytime at seeingredny@gmail.com. A few emails have come in over the last few weeks since when we've been away. Mark Nestor writes, "Good evening, Mark and Gustavo. Hope the vacation was restful." It was. You didn't miss much with Miami putting us to the sword over the weekend. Not great. Well, I think if this team has talent and a defense that's mostly good when not playing Miami, it's clear they need difference makers and more speed to impact opposing defenses. I acknowledge that they're missing Morgan, and players like Harper have been hurt as well, and having those players regularly will help, but I still believe more help is needed. The offense has been anemic. We're close to a third of the way through the season, and the team has amassed a whopping 12 goals in 11 games, and New England has passed us in the standings, which is a problem. Choupo has played 967 out of a possible 990 minutes and has 4 goals to show for it, 2 from open play. Forsberg has 965 out of a possible 990 and 3 goals and an assist. 2 of his goals are open play. The rest of the team has 5 goals with only Sofo, giving me some hope that maybe there's a player given his combo of speed and pressing ability. Assuming the front office feels we're short, do you think they'll try and make a splash this summer to add 1 to 2 difference makers on the team, or will it be another free transfer that excites no one, and while also signing 2 more talented homegrown players that won't impact the first team for another 2-3 years, if at all? Would love your thoughts. Best, Mark in section 126. Gustavo, I think Mark is feeling what just about all Red Bulls fans are feeling right now.
Absolutely. It's a common sense. We need help. The team needs help. Let's see if the front office sees the same thing as we are seeing and splash some cash and make the fan base happy. He was stating the minutes both of our DPs played, and that's something positive.
Yes.
Even though it's not great, it's not there yet, but that's something impressive given their ages, and I'm pleased with that. But they need help.
And also, please, I mean, Choupo got into the Open Cup game late, but I'm glad that Forsberg didn't have to play in Colorado Springs. And they could be rested. I can't imagine you're going to see them on the bench the whole game against Dallas. I think they're playing against Dallas, and a chance to move to the Final 8 at home. Maybe you take your foot off the gas in the league a little bit during this period of ridiculous.
It's a chance for silverware, right?
Yeah, no, you got to play for it. Thank you, Mark, for your note. Here's Jeff Cooley. Hello, Seeing Red. 3 points is 3 points. I was going to add this, I think, after the Montreal match. I was going to email about our lack of goals from open play because, yikes, we're not getting that done this year. But Sandro said something really interesting at the post-game press conference. I'm paraphrasing, but he said something effective. Last game, after 10 matches, we had 17 points. This year, we have 15 points. That's only 2 points off. But it feels really different because the expectations for the team are higher this year. The expectations are higher, and he's right. Last year, we were feeling great about the team heading into summer. This year, not so much. Even with our roster objectively improving, and with our point total being pretty close, there's a real feeling of frustration this year from the performance of the team. I think Sandro is right, but also think fans should be frustrated with our performance. What do you think? Thanks, Jeff.
Underperforming, totally underperforming. It's too mechanic. It's hard to watch at times.
Yeah.
The players have not been so creative. Even Forsberg too. Last year he was more impacting more the team than he's been this season so far. It's disappointing, man.
Yeah, and Schwartz after the Open Cup win, what kind of asked, like, does this provide you with a boost? And he pretty much said, yeah, it's a win, and we just move to the next one. I mean, the team is trying very hard. They are. I believe that he believes that they're doing their best.
I think so.
I think they just need a little more creativity, and with that, an attacking threat on the left will make a difference. Thank you, Jeff, for your note. Last note on the week is Robert Delmonico, who writes, Mark and Gustavo just got done listening to episode 610 with Mike Batista, which was fantastic as always, albeit a grim reminder of the awful performance against DC. When you read this, we'll hopefully drop the house on Montreal for a soothing 6-0 victory, and everything will be fine. Everything, that's not what happened.
It didn't happen at all.
In the episode, Michael said something effective. Are we really missing Lewis Morgan that badly? When referring to our injury issues as a general explanation for poor performance against poor teams, you both, I feel, rightly said that while Morgan's absence hurts, there's probably more going wrong here than just our best attacking piece not being on the field. Please do not mistake these stats to be an insult in any way to Morgan. I love him, and we're better with him on the field than when he's missing, but I did some digging from last year and wanted to present something interesting and concerning. If you and the fans know this, I already apologize. Last year, as a comeback player of the year, Morgan went on a tear at the beginning of the season, scoring 9 times in the first 13 games. To date, that he scored 9 goals by May 15th, and from May 16th through the end of the season, he only scored 4. I'm not doing the exact math, but just spot checking. Both Dante and Manuel outscored him individually in that time period, and you can recall that means in general we weren't scoring a whole lot down the stretch. Making MLS Cup really went far in rewriting some of the narrative of last season, which I think it should. But even during the run, we were not a threat going forward, even with Morgan on the field. This attack didn't make MLS Cup. Our defense did, and I would argue that Schwartz also had a lot to do with it as well. I think it's safe to argue that a healthy Morgan-Chupo combo is better than what we saw from a combination involving Dante or Manuel, but it's not likely as good as it needs to be. And when you combine the fact that, at least in our opinion, our defense minus Reyes and Tolkien is worse than last year, I feel we aren't going to go very far past the early rounds of the playoffs, so that's some help, which I really didn't expect coming into the season. Nothing new to say here, but the summer transfer window is a must for the front office to deliver on. Whether it's the dream of signing Timo Werner or not, something's got to happen. And I don't think we should expect any alternative or excuse in the front office, which I think a lot of us are anticipating given what we've seen over the last 5 years. Love the show, and thanks you for everything you do. That's Robert Delmonico. Robert, thank you for the fantastic email. Yeah, I mean, it was absolutely the defense which held it down. I mean, listen, New York scored very few goals on the road to MLS Cup. Felipe Carvalho was absolutely crucial in getting us there. And the goals in the Eastern Conference Final and the final were scored by Central defenders. So, yes, you are correct. And I think it's no surprise that while Lewis's impact was challenged during the last phase of 2024, it's a lot of games, and he still, had worked his way back. And I think it was evident to everyone, and Morgan will tell you this as well, that, he kind of got tired. Like, he was kind of done by the end of the year and got across the finish line. And, the team came up 1 goal short from the ultimate prize. So, yeah, I mean, we haven't seen enough of Morgan, Chupo, and Forsberg playing together to have an opinion about whether or not this attacking line is better than what we had last year. Clearly, they've struggled. They've struggled to score goals. They've gotten to muck fights against bad teams, and they've lost to some good teams. And they're currently below the line. They're 10th out of 15. But this is a game on Saturday night that they absolutely should win. And I'm not going to say there's no reason, because we don't say that here, but New York should feel very confident going into this game.
I'm with you, totally with you. And I would add something else too.
Please.
Tolkien leaving the team really hurt. I didn't expect to hurt so much, but I think his presence on the left field, on the left side, it hurts the team. It's not been the same without him. And not only that, his character, I think his attitude at times helped the team too, boosted some energy. It's not been the same since he left, and I truly miss John Tolkien too. Sometimes I have a hard time thinking about the defense carried us to the MLS Cup. Yes, they did. They were very important. But the whole team, it was a unit, even though they weren't scoring many goals.
Fair.
It was nice to see the whole team giving it all, and they did. And they took us to the MLS Cup, which unfortunately ended up in pain. But I just want them to be healthy. I just wish they could be healthy and have some minutes together, especially the 3 of our best players, Schupu, Morgan, and Forsberg. And, at least to give the fans, even though I'm not expecting the front office to splash some cash during the summer transfer window, because it traditionally it doesn't happen now, but I want, something to cheer for. And I think at times, these 3 players can give us that.
To your Tolkien point, and we talked about this with Steve Cangialosi, do you know who leads the team in assists?
Right now?
It's Omar Valencia, the left back, with 4. And so I feel like you can't replace a player of Tolkien's tenure and story, right? Homegrown player, had 4 years to make the position his own. We still haven't seen Marcelo Morales. Has not played a minute for the Red Bulls yet. We've suffered through some Raheem Edwards adventures. I think we need to talk about, before we break, I think we need to talk about the injury challenges that this team has. There has been a revolving door of injuries all season. And when that happens, I think in the manner in which this has happened, you have to turn your attention to the training program and the physio program. And is something wrong here? Is something happening here that isn't right? We just don't understand. I don't understand the reason that players are spending 2 or 3 games on the field and then back on the injury list. It's crazy, and it's really prevented, I think, the Red Bulls from getting the best out of their roster. So I don't know if something has to change. It's something we can talk about. We'll have a chance to talk to Sports tomorrow, and I'll ask him about it. But
or even be more transparent. Victor Bogarts, he came here injured. We don't know if he got injured here or if he came injured. So What's going on?
Yeah. We've come to an end of a fantastic Seeing Red. I'd like to thank Steve Cangialosi for dropping by, Zach Feldman for stats as always, and you for watching and listening. And if you are watching all the way through, a reminder, please like and please subscribe to the show. We really appreciate it. We've had some interesting tech challenges today with Steve, so we appreciate you dealing with that. We've had some camera issues here at the Joe Goldstein studio, but nevertheless, Gustavo, thank you so much for joining. You call Saturday's match a
1-0 win.
I'm going to call it a 3-1 Red Bulls win. On to the Open Cup. 4 wins to glory. Let's go. We'll be back on Seeing Red next week. Good night, everyone.